geneticists will say, I think I had that when I was a kid, and no one ever knew. Hi guys, welcome to Ventures by Ariana. I'm Ariana and I'm so excited to share with you today what a cleft lip and palate is and the different variations that you can have if you are diagnosed with this. Again, my name is Ariana. Just so you know a bit about my educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in health science focused on health education and public health. And then I also have a master's in executive leadership, health administration. I have built a platform that I can share and educate you on different diagnoses. I'm going to focus primarily on cleft lip and palate, as that is something that I personally have, and I'm very passionate about it, educating the world on what it is and what it means to be diagnosed. All right, so let's jump right in. The lip forms during the 4th and 7th weeks of pregnancy. And so the tissues and special cells from each side of the head will grow together to form the lip. And a cleft lip is a result of that not happening, or an incomplete fusion of the lip. And then the cleft palate, that's during week 6 and 9, you'll have that formation that typically happens. And if that doesn't happen, then it will result in a cleft palate as well. So for some babies, both the front and the back parts of the palate are open. And for other babies, only one part of the palate is open. A cleft palate is a gap in the roof of the mouth. The back of the palate towards the throat is called the soft palate, and the front towards the lips are called the hard palate. It can affect both the soft and the hard palate. But you can have either a cleft lip or a cleft palate, or you can have both. And so with a cleft lip, you can have a gap. It's where the lip does not fully form during fetal development. And so you can have a hairline cleft, which is a very minimal scarring. You may have seen that with some individuals that don't have very much apparent deformity. They might just have a hairline cleft. Or you can have a larger gap. And depending on where you are in the world and what type of access to medical services you have, those repairs are done pretty early on if you're in a well-developed country. If not, sometimes there's larger gaps, and unfortunately in some areas they don't get repaired at all. Now, to have it on one side would mean it's unilateral. So you would have it on one side. As you can see, I'll put an image up here. You can see how it's one side is unilateral. If you have it on two sides, it's bilateral. And then in the rare occasions, you sometimes have a midline cleft, but that's not as common as the others. Now, to have a cleft palate is essentially the same concept during fetal development, where that palate does not fuse together entirely. And that's usually a larger gap, as you can see in the image here, where we have a lack of closure. And so that typically has to be repaired, not just with sutures, to be repaired with bone and cartilage grafts. And that is also done pretty early on within the first few weeks of birth. The severity of a cleft palate can vary, ranging from a small opening to a more extensive gap, like I was saying, and that can extend into your nasal cavity as well. And with the cleft lip, like I was talking about before, that can extend into the nasal cavity. The cleft palate actively affects the nasal cavity. So as you can see in the image, there's a gap and affect of a variety of things. So breathing, feedings, things of that nature. So when you have a cleft lip and a cleft palate combined, that is actually what I have. I have a unilateral, so one-sided cleft lip, and then my palate was completely open all the way to the back. So we'll go into some detail there. I was born with, it's now been repaired since I was an infant, but I had a cleft palate that affected all the way to my soft palate. So it was a pretty significant gap, and it did affect things like breathing, as well as eating, being able to latch, and to breastfeed from my mom. So cleft lip and cleft palates can occur on one or both sides of the mouth. The lip and the palate develop separately, so it's possible to have a cleft lip without a cleft palate without a cleft lip, and then both a cleft lip and a cleft palate, which is the most frequently occurring disorder. And a cleft lip and cleft palate is actually a very common congenital diagnoses. So in my particular case, my maternal grandfather had a unilateral hairline cleft, and no one ever knew because he had a mustache. And so when I was born, we were kind of like, and a lot of the geneticists were saying, well, it is a natural thing to have it genetically. Is there anyone in your family? And it wasn't until my mother informed her father that I was born with this that he said, oh, I think I had that when I was a kid, but there was no deformity because it was just that cleft lip. And so, for a little bit of statistics, the numbers vary from year to year, but in recent studies, which I've gathered my information from the CDC, Center for Disease Control, as well as Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, and then the Cleft Lip and Palate Association, which I will put in the details of this video, has a plethora of things that you can read up on, and I'll definitely be sharing those links as I go. 1 in every 1,600 babies born in the United States have a cleft lip and cleft palate. And then 1 in every 700 around the world have cleft lips and cleft palates. And like I said, there's varying things that can contribute to someone having a cleft lip and cleft palate, as well as various contributing factors to the repairs of the cleft lip and cleft palate, which can be of significant quality of life change once you're able to have those repairs. And so I wanted to create this video and bring awareness on my channel about cleft lip and cleft palates because I want people to know that they can have a quality life outside of their diagnoses. And the diagnoses does not define who you are, right? If we were defined by all of our imperfections, we would be pretty miserable people and the life that we live in would be dull, right? So if you have a child, or if you've been recently told that you may have a child with a cleft lip and cleft palate, reach out to me. Let me know in the comments what you're curious about. I've had several surgeries. I would love to share each of those with you. If I could find photos, dig them out of the archives, I'd be happy to do that for you. And I'm so excited that you've chosen to be a part of this journey and learn more about me and who I am. I'm excited to continue to grow this channel to make it a platform that's a safe place where you can own your uniqueness and be exactly who God intended you to be. So stay along for the ride, watch all my videos. I want you to feel good. I want you to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that you are not defined by your diagnoses. And if you have any questions, again, let me know in the comments below. Bye.